Hey everybody, it's Fanny here. I'm here to bring you some commentary on day 2 of the Despatch Rally Dorset. Dick and I attended the second day. I attended riding Pillion. We met at around 9 o'clock at the Sammy Miller Motorcycle Museum, although we were fashionably late coming down from London, so we missed the 9:15 rider briefing. What the day had in store? Well, we started with challenge locations opening, including the control course, an off-road course, there was some clay pigeon shooting, and all throughout the day was a phone box reconnaissance course where we were given a map and each one of the old historic phone booths or even a point value, and we were supposed to find those locations using just the map and our motorcycle. So Dick and I are here to give you a rundown of day 2.
So I really liked the map. What did you think about the map? I was impressed with it.
I thought it was very funky, very authentic, very vintage. It really led into the feel of what the Despatch Rally is, and it really set the mood. I can't remember the last time I actually had to look at a map to try to get from point A to point B, so I thought that was just really interesting out of the gate.
I agree with that, and what I liked about it too was that it wasn't just this kind of run out of a printer. What is it?
It's quality. It was quality.
It was not. It wasn't. It wasn't.
It wasn't
informal.
on somebody's inkjet printer.
Exactly. It wasn't an inkjet printer map. It was
pre-folded.
It was formal, folded. It was a heavyweight stock. It was frameable.
Yeah, absolutely. And the rider logbook coming along with it. Very classy. Just excellent presentation for those participants to really get you in the mood. I also like the use of icons, for the off-road, the shooting range, the telephone reconnaissance. I wish I had paid a little bit more attention and maybe it would have been explained a bit better in the briefing about the point value of the phone boxes. I think when we arrived, we were more interested in doing a reconnaissance of the tea room.
Yeah, I think we would have gotten a better sense of what the rally was about if we arrived on time. And next year I hope to arrive on time. But the fact that we saw, and you were very eager. I ran inside, grabbed our logbook, grabbed the map, signed us in, and we were ready to go. You didn't even take your helmet off. And I said, take your helmet off. There's a tea room.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting tea, which was a good surprise. So everything was a pleasant surprise. I'm already starting, ahead of the game. But I think, because I'm very competitive, Dick, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think you could. That's why I brought you along. I thought it would be a good addition to the event.
So for Dick to say, look, let's just reset, let's get off the bike, let's have some tea. I was like, whoa, wait a minute here. But still, I was trying to get some strategy.
I could see the wheels turning. You were like, do we have time to do this? And I assured you we had time because I knew the people who had gone to the Dispatch Rally before were already way ahead of us. And I wanted to get our bearings and we had raced down. Well, I think it took us about an hour and a half to 2 hours.
I'd say, yeah.
To get down from London. It was freezing cold. And so to get a little reset, look at what we had ahead of us for the day and what we had to do, I think was a good way for us to get into it. However, at the end of the day, I really felt that extra time that we used in the tea room bearing down on us. There was a lot of pressure and I got caught up in the competition.
I agree with you. I think we were a bit too nonchalant out of the gate. I think we would have had a better plan, saying, look, let's go for the gold phone booths, which were 10 points, because at the end of the day, the rider that performs the best and accumulates the most points by finding those phone boxes, and each one is assigned a color value. Each color value has a point value, and a gold phone box is worth 10. They tend to be farther away. We probably should have just spent most of the day trying to tick off those 10 pointers.
Yeah, it's funny how they were spread out. I looked at the map and I wasn't really sure of the scale of the map, and the scale of the map made me think that phone boxes were farther away than they actually were. So it took me a bit of time to understand kind of our bearings and understand where we were and really understand the concept of the event. Because like I said, I took it kind of very nonchalantly, but having you as a partner got me into the competition of it. And got me, and actually seeing other riders. We were pretty much alone from the beginning. We saw riders leaving as we came in late.
Yeah.
And we didn't see another rider for a good couple of hours. So it kind of felt a bit lonely, which is why I liked the first day. And I think next year I want you to come to the first day with me because there was lots of camaraderie to it. So we spent a lot of time on these back roads in Dorset just being alone together, which was lovely. But you didn't feel like you were part of the rally until you came up to the phone booth and realized that there was something to mark in the book.
Or there was somebody else there. Because I think the first phone booth we came to and there was somebody else there, it kind of instilled in you this panic, like, oh my God, how many, and you'd start this chat, like, hey, how many points do you have?
How's your day going? ... Are you having any trouble finding them? Yeah. But I think the people that we did run into were all very friendly about
Very
it.
friendly,
They
yeah.
were. It was a very good event. You kind of felt like they knew what you were going through, type of thing. There was a solidarity, I guess, between the riders that we ran into.
And the locations were great. I mean, they were a bit challenging to find. I mean, but you did have to use your map, which is why I was glad that it was such a good quality and it was really interesting to look at. But also as far as navigation, it was pretty on point because, I was also riding Pillion, trying to cross-check with the map. So it was a challenge. It wasn't just, hey, Google, get me to this crossroad. And when we got there, it was quite a surprise to see what the telephone booth was being used for. Some were just clearly abandoned and not really used for anything. Other telephone booths were used as community libraries. So, have a book, leave a book, want a book, take a book. It was really great to see that these phone boxes were being preserved and were actually being put to use.
Going back to the logbook, I really liked the logbook and the aesthetic of the logbook, but the empty boxes in the logbook incentivized me really. There were things I would not win, like points I would not get, like the genuine military bike. I didn't ride a genuine military bike. And on the day I brought you, because you were coming Pillion, I didn't ride my military styled bike. So I missed out on 10 to 15 points for that, and the empty box really lingered for me. It felt like really empty, so I'm gonna make more of an effort. So it's really well designed because it really kicks you in the butt to want to get all of the points and fill all the boxes out, which usually I'm not too bothered by. And then back to the location you were saying, through the New Forest, there were all these horses wandering around and just kind of in the middle of the road. Cars would have to stop because the horses were there kind of sniffing the edges of the road, and we were stopped at this phone booth and horse came up and you're like, let me get on real quick because there's a horse there. And then we had to wait for the horse to kind of meander along.
Because the horse would have been intimidated by me. I look like freaking RoboCop. It was so cold. Fortunately, cold. Dick brought extra motorcycle gear because I'm more fashion over function. He did bring an extra jacket, but I was wearing like 3 motorcycle jackets with armor, and it was pretty intimidating. So I think when we saw the first horse at one of the phone booths, I was scared that there was going to be a duel.
Yeah. You are fashion over function, which is one of the things that attracts me to you. But I've managed to eke in some safety bits into your fashionable. Like the dawn of Kevlar jeans was like a breakthrough for you as a motorcyclist, because you can actually wear a tight pair of jeans and still ride your motorcycle and not have me yell at you about not wearing the appropriate armor. So I'm glad that the technology has caught up with fashion, so that fashionistas like you can go motorcycling. But on cold days like this, you're still going to look like a Frankenstein, because I'm the one who's going to pack the gear, and it's not going to be the most fashionable stuff.
And I did, and that's fine, and I'm glad. But I still have the Tom Ford sunglasses on, so it was all good.
So what did you think about being Pillion as opposed to riding? Because you ride your own bike, and we go riding 2 up occasionally, but on a long ride, like it was a 2-hour ride down, we had a 2-hour ride back, we were on the bike all day long, and you were on and off the bike more than I was. So what was it like as a Pillion to experience the rally?
It was a lot more exciting than I thought it would be. To be honest with you, I thought that I'd get tired on Pillion not really participating, but it was interesting because I was doing a lot of navigating rally map and also just looking around at the surroundings and taking that all in. It was the first time I had ever been in the New Forest area on a bike, and definitely seeing the livestock and the horses was wild. It was like it's another fear factor, another layer of caution you have to kind of pay attention to. The width of the road. So I really enjoyed the experience as a Pillion. I felt very much involved. I could see how it is more efficient than 2 riders participating and riding separately. But I really am eager to ride those roads and participate as a solo rider next year.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I always feel bad having you ride Pillion because you're such an accomplished rider, and that when I have you on the back, I kind of feel like you're bored, and I don't want to bore you, so I try and keep you entertained. But the dawn of the helmet-to-helmet intercoms has changed not only riding 2 bikes with you, like each on our own bikes, but in Pillion, just being able to have a conversation and keep each other engaged is so much more fun than used to, like waving and yelling at each other like we used to do.
Yeah. Well, I felt that we did get an advantage, especially at the end when we started kind of, the competition started kicking in.
For us.
For us.
Because it was already kicked in for the 100 other riders that were there.
Our self-imposed competition finally kicking in. It was easy because I was Pillion, so you were focusing on kind of the physical plant of the bike, and I was looking 2 steps ahead. Okay, what phone booth are we gonna do next, and what are we gonna do after that? So it was a bit easier to plan. So I think next year, if I ride Pillion separately, or when I ride, sorry, not Pillion, but when I ride my own bike, I think we'll definitely have to get there earlier so that we can participate in the briefing.
In the briefing, know
take
what the
a
hell
look
we're
at
doing.
the map.
Yeah, look at the map.
And really have a strategy.
A sense of what
Yeah.
we're meant to be doing. The whole time, though, during this ride, I really loved the landscape. I loved the roads, the routes that we found. I loved it all about. But the whole time I was thinking if we could get back in time for the tea room to be open and get another piece of apple cake.
Yeah. I think that was definitely on your mind. I could tell that.
And the other thing is, we were doing this with such, until, like, say, the second half of the day, we were doing it with such a lackadaisical attitude that we didn't get a sense of when we had to get back until it got really late in the day, and we were really far from the museum.
Yeah.
So we didn't anticipate or build in that drive back to where we needed to get by a certain time.
I think in hindsight we probably should have plotted the farthest point out first and participate in, say, the off-road course, because the off-road course was quite far away, and that's where we ticked off some of our 10 pointers. So I think had we done that first in the first half of the day, I think that would have put us in a better position to get back in time and have some more apple cake.
Anyway, I was really taken by where we were. We haven't spent a lot of time in England down in the Dorset, New Forest area. And I secretly, as we were riding along, was clocking all of the for sale signs on the little cottages that we saw at the edge of the wood. So I'm really drawn to that area now, and I'm hoping to get down there more often.
Definitely. I noticed you clocking that, and it's really a lovely place, so I would go back and ride again. It seems like it'd be a nice place to live, be good for us to consider, because it's very different. It has a really laid back feel to it, which is why I was glad that they have these dispatch rallies in various locations across the United Kingdom. But this one just seemed right, especially for our first dispatch rally. The people, the places, everybody we came in contact with, just all led to a fantastic day that was very much in character.
It was. I didn't know that there were other dispatch rallies around the country, and you had mentioned that there were other ones around the country. And I'm curious to see how that experience would be different, because the setting of it, that you're a dispatch rider in the English countryside delivering messages, so there's some sort of importance or urgency to that role historically. And so the authenticity of being on rural roads away from technology is, I think, really important to the experience.
Absolutely. In fact, I kind of felt guilty that I was dressed like RoboCop.
You're so futuristic. Yeah.
I think I'll have to start planning my outfit.
That's right. We were driving a late model BMW adventure bike, so there was no authenticity on our part. It was almost like we were time travelers.
That's right. It's just a lot of imagination. A lot of imagination.
Yeah, a lot of imagination. Being voyeurs as opposed to entrenched participants. So we ended up doing all of the activity courses. I didn't think we'd get to all the activity courses, which I was concerned about.
But I'm glad we did. Especially with the shooting. I had never been to a shooting range. In fact, I'd never even held a gun before that day.
Now, I've known you most of my life, and I was surprised when you told me that on the day. You were not going to shoot on that day.
No.
Because you had never held a gun. And as a American growing up in a small town, that's a very interesting phenomenon.
It really, when we pulled in, I was dead set against it, and I didn't want to make much of it, and I didn't think that you were going to push the issue, quite honestly. I thought that you would be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do this. And so when I said I wasn't going to do it, I kind of thought that you would just let that slide.
So my concern about you shooting or not shooting was not because I didn't think you had to shoot. I just thought you're good at everything you do. And when you're worried about not being good at what you do, you wait to have a private time to practice so that when there's an opportunity to shine, you're good at what you do.
Yes.
And so I thought, because there were experienced shooters there, or there could be experienced shooters there. You going in with we don't spend a lot of time firing weapons. So you going in and firing a weapon and not doing the best that you could do, given the opportunity to practice, that you would miss out on an opportunity that I think you would have fun at.
Nice.
I did not know of the reluctance to hold a firearm. So I hope you didn't feel pressured.
Not at all. And I'm glad that you were persuasive. I think my hesitancy was, having never held a gun before, I just felt that even 30 seconds worth of briefing, okay, this is what you do, this is how you hold it. To me, I respect firearms tremendously. I think they have a purpose, but I think that, to me, in order for me to use it in such a way that I could do it safely, would take more than just, 30 seconds of explanation. But at the end, I'm glad I did it, because I was actually pretty good at it.
You were really good. I think you missed one.
I missed 1 out of 5. Yeah.
Yes, you did really well. I got 5 out of 5.
You did.
You did really well, and it was a good experience. It wasn't like a tough guy gun experience. It was very much an inclusive, fun experience.
Yeah.
And then what about the off-road course? I mean, I asked you about what it was. I asked you about what it was like to be a pillion through the hedgerow lanes and the single tracks and the tarmac. But there was an off-road course that was about, I'd say it took us about 15 minutes, 20 minutes to do the off-road course, including getting lost.
When you had asked me to possibly participate on my map, I was hesitant because of the off-road portion. I thought that I hadn't done enough off-road riding. I was intimidated that perhaps it would be beyond my expertise. I was pleased to see that it wasn't. That I firmly believe that with my limited off-road experience, I could have easily done that course. I think I definitely could do it. So anybody who's considering doing the dispatch ride next year, if it's the same type of off-road course, don't be afraid of it. You definitely can handle it.
All the organizers and everyone who was there were very supportive, very friendly, very approachable. There has been rallies that you and I have gone to where we felt very much
alone
or marginalized, unsupported, or even like we didn't belong there.
Yeah, they had bowls of sweets.
They were giving us bowls of sweets. They were giving us I think there's something to be said about the organizers, because this could have been a very different experience if there wasn't that organizational support that this experience had.
I absolutely agree. And I have, just from my limited involvement as an observer in kind of the British motorcycle scene, and albeit most of my experience is in the London area, I always feel like it is very exclusive and it doesn't seem very inclusive. So going to this rally, I think part of my hesitation and skipping out on day one was just not wanting to go to another location where I felt like I wasn't cool enough, or I didn't have the right type of bike or clothes, or I didn't, my nickname wasn't like Dirk or something. So, but this was very inclusive, and it made me excited not only to participate, and I like how they did offer people who were riding Pillion the opportunity to participate in the shooting, but it made me excited and confident that I would want to participate and be a part of this community next year.
I really felt like this was one of the best, if not the best, motorcycle events that I've participated in.
I would agree.
You want to ask this gentleman? Excuse me. It might sound odd, but we're looking for an old phone box. Is there? Red one, yeah. Okay, we'll go check that out. Thanks very much. Is that cheating? Would a dispatch rider ask for directions?
If you like that video and you want to see more like them, hit like, share, and subscribe.